Hello, everybody. Good evening. It is Wednesday night, so you know what that means. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday, a self-love TV production. I'm your host, AmeliaFortes, and if it is your first time here, welcome. Drop a comment as you're hopping on. If it is your umpteenth time here, welcome back. Thank you so much for watching the show. And if you are here catching the replay, drop a hashtag replay. Tonight, I have been so excited for tonight all week because we are going to be talking about some juicy, juicy stuff. We're going to be talking about business, art, and which, if you don't know what it is, we're going to tell you what it is. And for that, I have brought my dear, dear friend, Candace, who is the founder of Candace Rogue, which is an amazing brand that combines fashion and art and jewelry to bring amazing art pieces and merchandise to people all over the world. So here she is, Candace. Hey.
Hey. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being a yes, and thank you for being here. A big piece of what I really wanted to, we're going to talk about business and art and all that good stuff and what led you to launching your brand.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of tied in with Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's song that just came out, which is like, okay, how do you tie business, art, and wet ass pussy? How do we tie those two together? Well, we're going to do it. We're going to tie it together. We're going to bring it all through. But the thing that really comes up for me is like about just honoring all of who you are, like all the parts of you, the sexual, the light, the dark, the spiritual, the artsy, the business, all of that. And the reason why that song comes up is because, you know, there's been a lot of debate online about the appropriateness or not appropriateness. So what have you been seeing? Like, what was your reaction when that song came out?
I absolutely loved it. You know, I feel like Twitter was kind of divided, and I was more on the side of like, I grew up with like the Trinas, the Kia, the Kaya or Kia, the my neck, my back hurt. Yeah, we grew up with those female hip hop artists, and they went there. So it wasn't like, this wasn't jarring to me. It just felt like, oh shoot, they finally, I think somebody wrote on Twitter like, oh, wait, can I cuss up here?
Right, you can see it.
It was like, oh, this that fruit bitch music that I like. And I was like, yes, sir. Yes, that's what I like. And so I'm always here for sexual liberation in terms of just how women are expressing themselves, and because it hasn't always been welcome, and it should be like, we should be able to be our authentic selves in every single form. So I absolutely loved it. Cardi and the Stallion like killed it. They slayed. They looked beautiful. They were so confident. And then I love their, like, you know, their cameos with all these other beautiful artists in the game right now. So I loved it. But then I hated that other side of, you know, and I saw it particularly with the other half of Twitter, who were just like talking about like, they're not role models, and is this where hip hop is going? And I'm like, hip hop has been there, baby. Like, the men have been doing this, the women have been doing this. Like, what about this seems new to you? Like, and you haven't been watching hip hop or listening to hip hop if this feels new for you. So.
And I mean, honestly, I don't even think it's that it feels new. I think it's just a continuation of people just not having a good relationship with sexuality in general, and people like not lifting up women, and like we are sexual beings. Like, we were created to enjoy those things. And I love what you said, though. It's like, hip hop's been here. And actually, I don't know if you follow, and if anyone does not follow Dr. Yaba Blay on Instagram, she does Judgment Free Zone every Friday, and she's all about amplifying Black joy and stories. And she posted a song that, I mean, I had never heard of it, but it was a song from like the 1930s, and she posted the whole song, and it was all about the same kind of content that the Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion song was. It's like, so it's not even just hip hop's been there. It's like, we've been there. Like, what are you talking about? Like, y'all who are not with it need to get with the program.
Absolutely. Or get left behind, baby, because we're going there and we're never returning back. The Handmaid's Tale? Oh no, this the free bitch tale.
But it's just so funny how it always seems new to people, but I think it's like or shocking.
Right.
And it really makes me sad to see women just talking down to women who look beautiful, are dressed up in art. Like they've literally turned their bodies into art and are confidently expressing themselves.
Absolutely.
And so many women are just tearing them down, talking like trashy or like, I mean, that's probably a nice version of what people have said about it.
For the life of me, I just, till this day, and I feel like this applies in any other situation you can think of, I'm trying to figure out how does what Cardi and Megan are doing affect your WAP, like, or your WAP? Like, how does that affect you? Like, if you don't want to get dressed up that way, or you don't want to express yourself in that light, then don't do it. But why is it so hard for people to see that there's a spectrum of women who want to express themselves? Like, it's just not for you. Say that, boo. Like, and move forward.
Close your eyes, or don't listen, or don't watch, right? But I think that's the point that had me tie in this song into today's topic, which is about truly loving and honoring all parts of you. And I think, to your point, a reason why people are so pressed, or some people are so pressed about it, is because they're not honoring their WAP. You know, I say it's like they say WAP in the music video or in the song, but that's not, I like WAP. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, I'm confused about how to say it too. You heard me. I was like WAP, WAP.
In the song, she says WAP, WAP, WAP. So I'm guessing we're like, I mean, but I like WAP. But either way, people who are pressed about it, and where, like you said, okay, if that's not for you, then it's not for you. So you could just close your eyes or don't listen or just move on. But if you're really that moved in your spirit about it, to me, that just tells me that you have not honored your WAP, your sexuality, your part of you, to the point where someone who's unapologetically doing it like that bothers you.
Right. And I just want for the men who were saying things that were just completely disrespectful, come a little closer. Come closer. We don't give a fuck what you have to say. Okay, sit down, baby. We don't care. We don't care. That's it.
Well, actually, I want to talk, like, were you ever in a point in your life where something like that would have bothered you, and like, maybe, and like, what were the reasons for that, and like, how did you kind of overcome that, if ever?
That's a dope question. So I don't feel like I ever felt like I was bothered by it. I felt like, wow, that's super dope. I wish I had the confidence to do that. Or I felt, comfortable enough with myself to feel empowered to express myself in that light. I never felt that until we met each other at the studio. And then it just felt so in tandem with who I was becoming. Like, it was like, oh wow, like this is a part of me and I'm allowed to express it. So I think, through our lives, we have to learn how to unlearn things that do not serve us. And I feel like I was at that point in my life when we met each other and we grew together in that way. It was just like this grand, like, awakening of just pleasure, like self-pleasure, and learning what that feels like in your body and being okay with that and expressing it to the world. It's fun. Like, it's a part of who you are. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good, because I'm trying to think. I mean, I was raised Catholic, and so, and I was raised, here in the United States. So definitely, like, slut shaming was a big part of how I was raised, like being taught to slut shame. And I'm trying to think though, but like, I don't remember. So for me, the first woman who I saw express herself in that way, because I grew up, like, my siblings are a bit older than me, so I grew up like with Madonna and like Little Kim and like Foxy Brown, and so I think it was kind of normalized in my house because my sisters and my brothers, like, they didn't slut shame like those women.
Right.
And I think I was too young to really like be able to have like a philosophical discussion about it. But I do remember that. Hey, Olivia, we've got people joining. Hey, Tara. Hey, Jency. Hey, people. Say hi as you pop on. We're talking about, well, right now we're talking about Wet Ass Pussy, the song by Megan and Cardi. And then we're going to talk about business and art and how that all ties in. But so it was never like shamed. It actually was kind of normal because like especially my sister like was a big fan of Little Kim.
Yeah.
I remember just being like, oh, okay. But definitely growing up, there was a lot of slut shaming and like, you know, girls being catty and talking about each other behind their back, or like even hearing guys like slut shaming about girls. Like when I was in high school, like hearing guys being like, oh, so-and-so's a slut and this and that. And this whole concept of like a slut and a good girl kind of thing. And then a little bit in college too, but also being raised Catholic, like sexuality was not something that we were allowed to like openly talk about or openly express.
That part, yeah.
So
I agree with that. I agree with that. Like, so, and that's the interesting thing is like, I was raised Baptist and we talked about our backgrounds before and like how strict it was and like, you know, just this like very narrow-minded way of thinking. And even just hearing a lot of the things like sitting in church and like, you know, being around the church community, I still felt the way I felt, you know, like it was like, okay, I hear you, sis, go off. But I still felt a certain way about it. Like I just was like, okay, that's good for you. I want you to live your life how you think it should be lived. But I know that when I'm grown and I'm able to make my own decisions, I will be popping this pussy on a handstand. Okay. So that's what it was.
I love that. I love that you were able to do that. And like that just also shows that it's so natural in us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me too, like I've always been like a wild child, you know, and what I mean by that is just like out there and bubbly and outgoing and stuff like that. So but definitely like at home, you know, I didn't feel as free to express my sexual curiosities, my sexual desires, you know, like even I remember when I was like younger, like even middle school, even a whisper of talking about potentially liking boys, you know, my mom would be like, no boys, no sex, no boys, no sex, right? And so it's just so interesting how our culture, especially here in the United States, we have it just doesn't make any sense how we view sex. Because like
Puritans in the street, but freaks in the sheets. I don't get it, sis. Like how? What do those things never collide? Never.
Right, but also it's like underwear models, lingerie models. Oh, they're hot. They're amazing. They get praised.
Right.
But then breastfeeding, even, which is not even sexual.
Thank you.
So with the same amount of titty, is gross
and actually functional.
But then, you know, looking hot at, let's say, the MTV VMA Awards or whatever, it's like, okay, you can look sexy, but then if you're unapologetically gyrating and grabbing your pussy and shaking your titties, then that, like, it's like the rules don't make sense. There are no rules, but like people have these rules and they just don't make sense. And like I've seen so many comments calling it like trashy behavior, and it's like
absolutely. And it's funny in that same example that you use, if you're walking down on the down like a red carpet on the MTV Awards, let Paris Hilton wear the same dress that Megan Thee Stallion is wearing, and hear what the feedback is going to be. Is it different? Most likely. So, you know, it's just people are going to decide what feels good for them or what they deem appropriate and what's not appropriate. But that should not stop us as boss women from doing what we need to be done with this WAP. Okay.
Natalie Convention is in the house.
Hey, Natalie.
Natalie, we agree. Fuck the rules.
Yes.
Yes. Exactly. Just fuck the rules. So, I mean, it sounds like you and I have like a similar kind of transition in terms of the fact that we just needed permission
Yeah.
Like with a community of like powerful embodied women to
Absolutely.
access that side and then to express it. But there are so many, and I'm grateful for that, but there are so many that are still like even with the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
just how many people said like awful things, and it's just so dumb and so sad that people think that way.
Right.
And it's just like, every time though people complain like that, I'm always like, they have bad sex.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and this is so, and people are probably gonna think this is blasphemous, but have you ever heard that like, that quote? I think it was by like Harriet Tubman, and she was just like, "I would have freed 1,000 more slaves if they only knew that they weren't free, or that they were not free already." Listen, that may seem real deep, but I feel like that too can also be applied to what we're talking about as well. It's like people are so conditioned to think that how they grew up is what is right and what is always going to be matter of fact. But then ignore their experiences. Like when you go through things and it teaches you differently, but you choose to go back to what you knew, it's like, free yourself, but I think it helps when you have, like you said, a community that lets you know, like, we exist. Like, there are people out here who are living their lives and to the best of their abilities and like to what is possible for them. So I think it's just a matter of really exposure and knowing that like it's possible and leaning into that. Like, you need to feel secure in that.
It's like, knowing that it's possible and then seeing it, but also like accessing that part of you that wants it to be possible, right? Because I think the people that are still like really vehemently opposed to this type of content and calling it trashy and a lot worse things, like it's almost like, so you don't even want to be free. So you don't even want the liberation of women, or you don't even want like,
I can't make peace with it, sis, because we over here living our lives, okay? Having fun. I can't make it make sense for them, but if it works for them, then I love it.
Well, and I will say, it sounds all like liberating right now, but I know for me, sometimes depending on like what situation I'm in or who I'm with, I can tell that I notice myself like, oh, I'm censoring a little bit.
Yeah, that code switch. The code switch is real. It is.
It's all kinds of, go ahead.
It makes you feel safe though. Like, it's like to know that this is not, being able to read a room is extremely important. Like, if you know that certain energy is not welcome, then why would I give you that energy? Like, if you can't handle all the forces that I bring, then, no, I don't think we should censor ourselves. I feel like that is limiting in some ways, but I feel you. Like, it's almost like I feel like it's like a protection almost. Like, I know that you all are not going to receive me well and all that I come with. So I'm going to make you feel good for this little moment, and then we're going to be on our way. That's fine.
I think it's just finding a balance, right? Because if you're constantly censoring yourself to the point that your life no longer feels free or liberated or in alignment or authentic, then that's where it becomes a problem. But if maybe we don't even call it censoring, we just call it discernment and boundary.
I like that.
I'm not going to rub my pussy up on you when I see you if I know you're or good boundaries sometimes. Oh my goodness. That says free yourself with your consent, not because I'm telling you. Yes.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
I'm not hearing a solution. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Shamik, because I think we're given solution, or I don't know. Yeah. Tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Crispy Carol.
Hi.
So how do we, like, what does this all have to do with business and art? And the reason why I like tied it together is because I know, well, I've gone through this as well, and I know that you're also going through this right now with the launch of your brand and your line, Candace Road, and how. Well, this is what I'm imagining, and then you tell me if I'm right, and you could tell your story. Because I know you were like working a certain job, and then making that transition to like launching your business, and it was a big part of like honoring a part of you and putting it out there and being vulnerable. So, tell us a little bit about that and how that all kind of came to be.
So I felt like, just like how we were talking about our upbringings, I feel like I've been very accustomed to, a certain voice in my ear, like whether that's your parents, whether that's, someone you admire in your life, they make you feel like you should be operating in a certain way. But I feel like at this point in my life, it's like, okay, well, forget what all the other voices in the room are saying. What are you feeling? And this time around, I've had different jobs before. I've switched industries, switched careers, and I feel like I've exceedingly done well in all of those areas. But it just never felt like right, like it just never felt like I was ever going to give my 150% because it wasn't really what I wanted. I'm going to show up and I'm going to show out because that's what you're paying me to do. You're exchanging a service for money. But at the end of the day, like I didn't feel like I was ever going to be that person that was like, oh, well, Candace, took our company like 200 years past what we needed to do. No, I wasn't that person because I felt like in the back of my mind, I was already being pulled to what I wanted to do. And that's my art. And so this time around in March, I was laid off and it was like, okay, I sat down and I was like trying to like do both, where I was trying to still launch my business, but also still looking for jobs. And I'm a software engineer. So that's a job in itself. And I just felt so divided. And I was like, hey, like what happens if you give yourself completely to this idea that you've always wanted to pursue without giving any excuses, going 150% every day as much as you can? And so I did that. I committed to the idea and committed with my passion, and it's been dope. Like, of course, I haven't gone viral or whatever, but I feel amazing enough that like every day I'm doing things, I'm making art that I love and that I can stand behind. So that's where I'm at.
I love it. And what I'm hearing, it reminds me of my story too, of just like, because I also did engineering and software and computer engineering, and I also worked in financial services for a really long time. And it's funny because actually one of the interns in one of the groups that I was in, she kind of told me later on, she was like, Amelia, like you were the first person that I met at the bank that I was like, oh, I can work and still have my personality, because she was like, I was expecting everyone to be in their like pencil suits or like whatever and all that. And I always found a way to like add some flair to my outfit, so I would have like my suit, but that would have like some bright ass colorful shirt or like some crazy shoes on, And, but the thing is, it's kind of like, it still wasn't enough of expressing myself. And I feel like, you can probably relate to that, being a software engineer. Like you have your job, but then it's not all of me.
Yeah. Lots of code switching.
Yeah. And that's what I think about. And it's one big reason why I love Cardi B, because she just is who she is. And like, even just like whether and I don't always agree with her and I don't always love everything she's doing, and that's okay, because people are people and you're not gonna, that's weird if you worship everything someone's doing. What I do love is that she is just always her. She says what she wants to say, she says it how she wants to say it. She talks about what she wants to talk about, and then she'll literally, like, if people complain, she'll be like how she's like, I don't give a fuck what you think.
Right.
But the thing is too, she's also real, because then when she is sensitive and when she does get her feelings hurt or what, she also says that too. And so definitely at work, and I imagine for you too at your jobs, right? Like, okay, it's work that I want to do, kind of maybe, but I'm not like fully expressed, and there's parts of me that aren't getting airtime. And
with all the bureaucracy and the politicism in the workplace, like I just found that extremely limiting in what I felt I had the power to do. It was like, okay, you say you want this, and I feel like I can take you there, but you're saying that you can only see, you want to micromanage the process, and you only see it getting done in that light. So if that's what you want to do, then you're not truly delegating you're not delegating, nor are you empowering your employees to do what you call them to do. So and that's not just my last job specifically, that's any job that I've had. It's just like, I feel like, people are hiring you to do things, and it's just like, but you're not letting go of that power. Like, let them be all that you call them to be, and they'll show out for you. So that's all.
And I think especially like a lot of people like in our generation, they're, a lot more women especially are starting businesses. And one thing I want to say is like, it's not necessary for you to like leave your job and start a business or whatever. But I think what we're speaking to is there's an inherent need in all of us to be fully expressed somehow. And would you say then, I mean, of course, getting laid off is never fun. And of course, in March, so like when all this COVID stuff exploded. Right. So I know that that's never fun, but would you say it was kind of a blessing? Because it like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like the fact that, with everything that's going on, I just felt it was just different this time. I didn't feel like, oh, my back is up. Even though my back may have been up against the wall, I didn't feel that way. I felt empowered because I've gone through so many things in my life that's prepared me for this moment. Like, and it's just like, once you've seen all these things, it's like, I'm built for this. Like, whatever it is, I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to be tenacious. And I have a support system that believes in my abilities, and I'm going to get it done. So apply it here. Do what needs to be done.
And a big reason I asked that is because I know a lot of people watch this show, and just a lot of people out there are going through their own version of like, I'm going to need to reevaluate and reset my situation, whether they're forced to because of being furloughed or laid off or fired, or their job just goes away, or they're not being forced to, but all this time at home and not enough distractions like we used to have are having them like have that come to Jesus moment, if you will, like, is this really what I want? And you were the perfect person to bring on for that, because I see you going through it, and I'm so proud. Like, I'm telling you, like when I saw you were launching your line and all that, like I was like,
girl,
she's doing it, because
there's a self-love work with you. Okay.
No, because I know how much fashion and art means to you. And, even though I know that you also love coding and software engineering, it's kind of like, it's the same for me too. Like even in my business, I constantly am seeking to give all the parts of me airtime.
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, when I'm in my business and I'm being so like, trying to make things happen or trying to get a launch done or whatever, because y'all know launching is like, I don't know, it's crazy. It's like nerve-wracking. It's like, and then I realize I'm not giving my joy or my play airtime. So it's like, I'm not having fun with this. Like, this is not why I got into business for myself. I got into business for myself so I could express all of myself, right? And so, like even for me with some of the jobs that I've had, I did love sometimes what I was doing, but there were still so many parts of me that were not expressed. And so just watching, your brand be launched and continue to grow and evolve, it's like, I'm like, it's you. It's all you.
Thank you.
How does it feel? I mean, also like the good and the bad. Like, how does it feel to just...
Well, today is tiring. Like, I've had maybe 1 hour of sleep in the past 48 hours. So like, but that comes with the territory, like, I'm not somebody who I'm finally had the opportunity to pursue something that I want. And I know that if I want it to be successful, then I'm going to have to give it my all. So, some nights are sleepless, but it doesn't feel like a sleepless night at a job you don't like. It's like, I know this is for a reason. So that means a lot to me. And I think honestly, that first launch that I did, I remember like sitting at the computer. I know you remember like that intro video I did on my Instagram, and I was like, oh no, I need to go back and fix this. And, I was just like coming up with all these excuses not to release the video. And I was like, Candace, you did it. just release it, boo. Like, just release, let it go. And then when I did it, and to see how well my friends and my family received it, and people who I didn't even know was like, wow, like, I don't really fuck with me. Like, that's what's up. Like, that was like, you don't need, and let me be clear, like, you don't need validation or affirmation to do the things that you were called to do. But it just felt good to know that, like, I was hesitant, I was cautious about it. And for what? Like, people still loved it because I was just that boss at what I did. So everybody out there who's just like hesitant on releasing their work and they know they were called to do it, just do it. Please, just do it. Do it for me. Do it for you.
No, there's a couple of things that I like. One thing, the thing about trying to make it perfect before you finally release it. I want to speak to that because I know a lot of people watching will relate to some form of that, because it's like you're putting your heart out there when it's your art, when it's your business. It's different than when you're launching something for your boss or for your job, because it's like your heart and soul is not necessarily in it because it's not like your baby or whatever.
Absolutely.
And, I too, the perfectionism has like totally debilitated me in the past, right? And I'm glad that you were just like, you know what, just release it, just put it out there. And here's the thing, like, launching imperfect is better than launching perfectly. And one thing one of my mentors said was like, if you're not embarrassed by the product you put out there, then you waited too long to launch it. That still hits me to this day because I always play that in my head, because it's like, I could spend 9 more days poring over these details.
Yeah.
Or I could put it out there and make some money, kind of thing. It becomes that thing. And I've got one of your first pieces here because I was at the second buyer.
Yes, honey. She was on the very first day, supported. Oh, look at my Thank you. That makes me so happy. You're so sweet. I love you. Thank you for supporting me. She looks so cute in her frame.
So by the way, so you drew this, right? So Candace, this is a whole. And let me tell you how perfect this is. Okay, so y'all know I'm gonna just hold it real quick. So
yes.
We look like sisters.
Yes.
Anyway, so this line. Do you call it a line when it's art?
We call it a line. It's a collection.
Yeah. This collection, there you go. I like that better. This collection is the Bloom Autumn collection, and it's so. Y'all know my brand is Self-Love Story, and a lot of what I teach is about flowers and blooming and like being your authentic self. And I talk about blossoming and blooming a lot. So it was like, I was gonna buy something regardless, but like it was so perfect because I was like. This one, so she has different ones, right? There's different colors, different flowers, and stuff like that. But this one, like, she spoke to me.
Oh, she speaks to a lot of people. I've had a lot of people say that, so I'm glad she.
Specific one? No, she like, and every time I look at her, it's like she reminds me to like be that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's it is.
Like, you could be sad for a second, but then like just remember you that bitch. So like then get back up and keep going, kind of thing. So,
and I purposely in the collection. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I was just gonna say that like in the collection, I purposefully use Black women's hair, just hair that isn't normally accepted in the classroom or in the boardroom. No, but still, we choose to rock it, and we still look amazing in it. And I think that was what was super important to me. Is just like representation is like the key word for a lot of us in this day and age. So I want to continue to keep the representation going. I'm not the first to do it. I will not be the last to do it. But I know that for my first collection, I love that was the statement that I wanted to make. So.
I love that, and I'll say, just feedback for you loud and clear, like the way that you presented and launched and branded yourself, like that was very clear from jump. And by the way, if y'all haven't seen, this is Candace's website and Instagram. But so there's other ones, there's different colors, different faces and then different flowers. And then I'm still waiting. Are those embroidered shirts back in stock? Because I need a shirt.
They are. There, you can find them on that same site. And then I just released a collection of bunny ears. They have lots of things that channel your chakras. So please check those out too. The opportunity, they're super cute. I would have worn those today, but this is from a future collection. So I was like,
oh, is that okay? So this is a little sneak peek of what's coming up.
Yes, honey, yes.
I love it. I love it. Like you're just putting your soul out there.
Girl, all the way. I can't, it's like once you come out the shell, you can't go back in. Like, I'm just like, yep, it's me now. Living my life.
Natalie wants the socks. She wants the socks. Go get the socks.
Oh, I got to order. So I have to do more orders for the socks because I did.
Okay. So that's
but yes, that is still out of stock, but I am working on getting a larger order of those soon. So I'm glad you said that, Natalie. I will make sure I be the first one to let you know when they back.
So how has it been like now, where are you at today compared to maybe before launching, like having all the fears or whatever, like where are you at now with everything?
I'm not gonna lie, like it's been the first
you have some pieces. People want to see the pieces. Like someone says, Shamik says show the socks.
Show the socks. They're sold out. I literally have the last pair that I have. If you go to the website though, they're on the website, so you'll see them clear as day. Go ahead.
Talk about it a little bit, and I'm gonna pull it up. So you go ahead and talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. So I think for me, the first month was like complete bliss. It was just like everybody was like outpouring their love and showing their support, and I thought that was super dope. And it just kept me motivated. It was like I'm in the right space. I'm doing what I should be doing. But now I'm in this space of like still trying to juggle, the art, but also the business. Like I'm still coding, I'm still building sites and applications. So managing my time has been like a really hard thing for me. So I'm not gonna say I'm struggling, but I'm learning to balance that right now. And yes, that's my site. Oh, thank you. Pulled it up. But yeah, these are the new.
Oh, go. Okay. I'm gonna pull it up.
Fine, whatever you want to do. But yeah, so I just released these bunny ears, and I think a lot of people are like saying like, I think with artists sometimes you get pigeonholed into like one space, like, oh, like if I release this Bloom on them collection, all of my other art is gonna look like line art, but that's not who I am. So I think that's been the hardest thing for me is not only juggling the business and the art, but also creating a space for me that I feel safe to release anything and everything that I want and being okay with that.
So these are the socks.
Yes, those are the socks.
And then these are the embroidered. So the last time I checked, these weren't available, but now that they are, I need to get my shirt.
Yes. So
what
were you gonna say, Marie? I'm sorry.
Oh, I said I want socks too, though.
Yes, they're gonna be back in stock. I literally was just talking to my vendor, so I'm gonna make sure I get those ASAP.
So see, this is the yellow daisies, but if you remember mine, so this is green roses, right?
Green roses, yep. Green roses.
And it's with the roses.
Right.
And we got the yellow daisy. Oh, ew, I don't want that version. Here we go. So we got the yellow daisies, and then here we go. Then we got orange dahlias. This is the orange dahlias print. The purple peonies. Yes. Every time I say peonies, I feel like I'm saying panties.
I feel the same way. I feel like I over exaggerate the peonies because I want people to know I'm not saying
peonies. And then don't even ask me to say that.
This is the Beatrice.
Beatrice.
Yeah. Yes.
The girl can't read.
Okay, we learned it together.
And I got, and then here are the bunny ears. I love that. Like, say that again so have people been telling you like, oh, you're going to confuse people with your brand or something? Like, how, like, have you been getting feedback like that or something? Or
no, I think it was more of a general fear for me, just because like when I visit a lot of people's, a lot of artists' social medias, they have a very specific vision for, and the art is all kind of like in the same vibe. And so I think that was a personal reflection on myself. It was just like, what if people don't get it, whichever. But now it's just kind of like, I don't care. Like you either vibe with the pieces or you don't. Like I just hope that like I just want you to know that if you were to step into a storefront, like a brick and mortar, you can find different vibes in every single corner of the store. The same is to go for my shop. Like, I want you to feel like I want that piece. Like, nobody else is going to have that piece in their home. Like, I want it to be unique and dope. So that's the type of art that I want to continue to push out and not really steer myself and like continue to do collections that all relate back to each other. So,
yeah. And, I think as you keep putting things out there, it tells your story,
Yeah.
And so this is a little preview of the next collection that's coming.
Yes, I actually did these last year, but again, I didn't release them because for whatever reason. And so I did like a whole collection involving this with this raffia. This is the name of the material that it was made of. And yeah, I just feel like a natural woman in this. Like, I really enjoy rocking it. I feel like it's a statement piece, and a lot of my pieces are going to be that. Like, if you walk in the room with one of my pieces, you're gonna be the only one with it on. So
yeah, it's a statement. I love that. So yeah, like statement pieces.
Yeah.
And I love a statement piece. Anyway, I'm in love with her, so I'm gonna just keep showing her. Like, I'm in love.
I just love her.
You signed it for me too. You signed it. I said, "Can you sign it for me?"
I got you. I did it.
I wish I had the self-love sign that you painted for me. It's in my storage in California. But
I just saw a picture in my messages the other day, and I was like, oh.
Of the self-love piece, yeah.
Yes. Amelia has been a big supporter of my art always. She is the person who has been pushing me to get to this point. So it was like a full circle moment to be up here and just like supporting you on your show and with all the love you've shown me over the years. So
oh my God, yeah, no, thank you so much. I just it's a big part of like why I do what I do, and I think for you and for anyone, like the thing that's going to get you to like overcome whatever fear to launch, or to not even just launch, but the fear to keep going. Because I think too, a lot of people launch, but not a lot of people keep going.
Right.
And the thing that you need to get you through that is you need like a big enough why. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need a big enough reason to want to do it. And like for me, like what I see for you as one of your big reasons is like you are art. Like ever since I met you, it's like you're a piece of art. You just are, like, you live art. You live art and passion. And it's like, it's almost like, even if, let's say you didn't get laid off this year and it took a couple more years, like to me with you, it's like inevitable that like, it's like your art is just so there that it would just have to come out,
Absolutely.
Like, for me, like my big why, like why I keep going and doing what I do is because is to support and inspire and move people through that stuff. Like to get them to that point where you are expressing and honoring all parts of you, and putting it out there and loving yourself enough to do that. Because I think one big fear why people don't do that too is because they're afraid of what other people are going to think.
Right.
And it's like, you can't, like, you've got to want something so bad that you can't give a fuck about that.
Yep.
And sometimes you will, like I still have those fears sometimes, but like my why is big enough. Like another big part of my why, and I imagine this is like for you too, because you mentioned like this first line was all about representation. Any excuse for me to bring this back out, but it's all about representation, right? And so like for me, like, because I'm like in the spiritual, personal development, self-help world, and I'm like, I need to see someone who looks like me at the top.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be someone, then it might as well be me.
Be you.
And so, until I get there, until like, I'm going to keep going. And also and it's not just for me too. It's like knowing that I'm inspiring and motivating other people. Because I know for me, when I see people that look like me doing something, I'm like, oh, okay, it is possible, you know? And actually, I came full circle because like a couple months ago, a woman found me on Instagram and she messaged me and she was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found your work. I just started doing my own like healing and stuff. And she also does self-love work. And she's like, it's so cool to see like a Filipina in this space doing it. And I just was like, I fulfilled my life purpose.
Yes. And I just want to say that like, you are the epitome of someone who knows the importance of planting seeds. Like, I feel like a lot of us, we try and force things to grow. But I think you're really great at planting seeds, and people will return to you to do the work when they know it's right in them. Sometimes people are moved to do it right then, but some people just are like, they need to let that resonate. They need to know what that looks like for them. They need to let that move in their bodies. And they're like, yo, I'm ready now. I remember what Amelia said, and I'm going to carry that with me forever. I was in therapy the other day, and I was like talking about how, you know, like how you just have those friends where you have these conversations and you're never the same again. Like you can never go back to the same person because they challenge you to be a better person. And you are you are one of those people in my life. Like we have conversations all the time and it's like, I can't go back and be ignorant now. Like I know I done seen the other side. Like you're gonna rise to the occasion, or you just gonna, you know, play small or not be as big as who you should be. So shout outs to you for stepping into your calling and just advocating for women and empowerment so heavily, because we need you. Like your voice is so necessary, and it's working. It's very much so working.
Aw, thank you so much. Thank you. I love you so much, and thank you for saying all of that. And the thing about planting seeds, for sure, like I want people to hear that, because, you know, I do also get not the feedback, but like people say to me like, oh gosh, Amelia, like you're so lucky, or, you know, you've been able to create this life that you can travel wherever you want. And
lucky.
I'm like, have you seen my dark night of the soul is not on camera. Let me just tell you. You know, and Candace has been there for some of my darker nights. And so it's like, yeah, the planting seeds is really important, because I think people, like we said earlier, people launch a lot. Like, first of all, a lot of people never launch.
Yeah.
Then when you have a smaller group of people that actually do launch, but then they don't keep going.
Yes.
And we're even 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years pass by, and it's just like, oh, well, then this isn't worth it. Like, I'm just going to even do something else. And it's like, you can't do that. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but like, if you want something bad enough, you're going to stick to it. And also I believe, because most people watching this know that I believe like the universe is also working in your favor. So things will also happen out of your control that are actually pushing you towards where you need to be, you know? And like I said, you've been there for some of my darker nights, and we both worked together at a place that was really toxic and gave us both dark nights, I think.
Yeah.
But when I started working there, I was really hopeful that I was going to be like one of the next leaders in that company and really like help take that company to the next level, because I really believe, by the way, this company was supposedly about women's empowerment. But wasn't actually. But when we all thought it was still about women's empowerment, all women, I was thinking like, oh, I can help elevate this brand to the next level and blah, blah, blah. And that all came crashing down. And that was like maybe, like, I want to say the third or fourth time that I put my blood, sweat, and tears into another brand, another company, and it all just came crashing down and like really wounded me. And I remember there was a point where, and actually a few friends reflected it to me too, but it was a point where it was like, Amelia, the universe is telling you to go all in with Self-Love Story. Like, go all in, no back doors, no excuses. Like how many more things have to fall apart for you to just go all in?
Absolutely.
You know? And I wonder if you had like a similar, obviously your story is different, but like where it's like, all right, it's time to just freaking release my art. Like
that was what I just explained with the layoff. Like it was like, you know, you now have an opportunity to pursue this wholeheartedly. Are you going to take it? Like, just be consistent. God's got the rest, you know? So that exactly what you just described was exactly what I just went through in the beginning of this year. And it was just kind of like one of those decisions where I started trying to go back into my old ways of like trying to find that sense of security and a job that wasn't necessarily for me. And again, it just stopped working because why? Because that was not what I was called to do. And I know by any means am not speaking down upon anybody who's working 2 jobs or doing a job and working on their side hustle right now with the hopes of their side hustle becoming their main hustle. That is totally necessary. It's totally fine. And, you know, we all do what we have to do. But what I'm saying is do not give up on what that passion is. That passion, at the end of the day, you need to have time to spend for that, because that's what's going to give you life. That's what's going to keep you going, and understanding that like these are sacrifices that you're making for endless happiness within yourself. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you said something, I mean, you said so many awesome things, but like the consistency, just going back to like the planting seeds. Yeah. And I want to speak openly on what, like for me, so, you know, like right now, like Self-Love Story is having a freaking phenomenal year. Like, and let me tell you how many times I wanted to quit. Like 5 times a day, at least every day for the last, like, so Self-Love Story just turned 4 in July. So a month ago, she turned 4. Woo! And we're seniors, bitch! But no time for senioritis. But but like, and I want to say this thing about planting seeds, because even though I did hear it when I started my business, I didn't fully understand it until like now 4 years later, where I'm like seeing some of those seeds that were planted years ago sprout, you know. And I'll tell you, when I first launched my business, I would get so hurt. Like when people didn't buy my stuff right away, or people didn't show up to my, you know, my workshop right away. Right. And I would be like, oh, that like people hate me, or like whatever bullshit we think about in our minds, right? Like, but you know what I'm gonna tie like the different pieces together, because like you have to want something bad enough that you're willing to be the only dipshit with some chips and dip at a workshop that no one shows up to. Like you have to want it bad enough that even if that happens, you will still do it again, and you will still try again. Where you rented the space and you put the flyers out there and nobody showed up, but you're still proud of yourself because you showed up. Like that's how bad you have to want it. Right. And you gotta trust that those seeds are gonna sprout, because I remember actually it was later last year, someone who had been following me from the beginning. Yeah. Who then like seemed keen on working with me, but then like ghosted me essentially. Yeah. I would like follow up every now and then, and I'd be like, oh my God, this person hates me. Like what happened? And eventually I like let it go because I was doing other things. And then I remember, so almost 4 years later, emails me out of the blue, gets on the phone, boom, like swipes, ready to work with me. See? And I just was like, planting seeds. You know, and I used to put, and you know, you've been around for a lot of it, because I think when I met you, Self-Love Story was not even a year old. It wasn't. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary. Oh my God. So I used to like post things and like nobody would register and whatever. So my last webinar that I had this past weekend, I sent out 1 email, or maybe 2, whatever. 73 people registered, like almost like right away. And I just was like, oh, okay. So your girl's got the vibes. I mean, but also I had to go through some dark. You put in the work. You put in the work, and you stay consistent. And you have to be consistent with yourself, or nobody else is going to be.
And these are like hard truths that you go through when you're like launching your business, and like, especially when we're in such a social media, quick, immediate gratification era. Like, you need that like, you need that share, that like, that subscribe. And when things don't happen instantaneously for you, it feels like you're failing, but it's not. Like, I just keep getting little signs that like you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. It may not be the type of all the engagement that you want, but people are paying attention. And I know that I love that you just revisited your story about like how you went from your freshman year to senior, because by watching you do it, I know that that's going to happen for me. Like, who knows what the time limits are? Maybe it's longer before I see that type of success. Maybe it's shorter, but whatever the case is, I know that through your consistency and your persistence, perseverance seldom fails. That's what my granny always used to say. So
I love it. Yeah, well, there's actually a really great question here from Shamik. And first he says, Amelia, you put out content so fast now, lightning fast that we can't.
She sure does.
I'm trying to shower the universe with self-love. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying. I guess I'm just doing it.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
But the really good question here, does that planting seeds work in relationship, friendship, and business development? Absolutely. I think so. And I think, speaking of relationships, I know, especially for me, like, I mean, I'm impatient in general. And like I said, I was impatient with my business, and it would be like, I bought my URL one day and I was like, why don't I have $1 million? You know, I signed up for a dating app. I signed up for a dating app. Why am I not married yet? Like, where are my babies? Like, where are my grandchildren?
Yes.
Finally unhinged. Where are my grandchildren? Kind of thing. It's like, no, like you do definitely have to plant seeds. And, you know, I'm actually like, I'm still learning this. Right. And so actually one thing that I came up with one time when I was talking to a friend was like, you know how like, well, I'm straight, I'm cisgender, so I'm going to talk about women dating men, but obviously there's other sexualities and genders. But like, I'm like, you know how when you meet a guy and it's like one thing is good and automatically you're like, is he my husband?
Yeah.
Are you my baby daddy? And then I was laughing. I was like, but we don't like meet another girl at a party and be like, are you my maid of honor? Do you know? Like, we don't do that. Like, you gotta let friendships and relationships develop. They take their natural course.
Right.
And I've seen many times where like friendship or people start out as friends and they don't even realize that they like each other, or maybe they didn't even have a reason to like each other until years later.
Yep.
Or, you know, and sometimes it does happen fast and sometimes it doesn't, but I think the point with that, and same thing with business, right? Like, because I remember I used to compare myself so much, because, you know, you hear those stories of like overnight successes where it's like she was $90 million in debt and then she launched her website and made $53 billion the next day. And it's just like, there was another article that talked about that, how it's detrimental that we only see stories about these supposed overnight successes.
Yes.
It sets our expectations all wrong, right? Yep. Or these stories of like they met and they got married in 2 days. Like, it's just, those are the exceptions, like not really the rule.
The rule.
And, like, there are no rules. And so I think with business, with relationships, with friendships, like, you've got to let things run their course and you've got to let things vibe. And if you're being like too attached or too like, just too attached to something or trying to make something happen, then you're not letting like the natural thing just do its thing. Is Margaret on? Margaret's on. Hi.
Hey, girl.
Hey, everybody. If you're just joining, actually, I just realized, girl, you and I, we vibe so well. I like have not even been looking at. We were like at an hour, so we could do some final thoughts. But if you're just joining, we talked about lots of different things. We talked essentially. The main topic of tonight was honoring all of who you are.
Yeah.
Your art, your creativity, your sexuality, your intellect, your whatever, your race, your ethnicity, your age, all of that, just honoring all of who you are. So we did kick it off by talking about Wet Ass Pussy, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's new song, and how everyone, like, the Twitter was divided,
Yes.
How people were divided, but about how sexuality, especially women's sexuality, gets to be celebrated and honored. And that kind of dovetailed into us learning how we're continuing to learn how to honor all of who we are with our art, with our business, with our creativity, you know. Yeah. Oh, yay. Natalie says this lit me up so much.
Yay.
Margaret says she loves us both
I
so
love
much.
you.
So many good things. Tara says congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, we talked about all of that, and you know, it's just such a blessing, and it's so worth it. And we talked a lot about the good, but we also talked about the bad. Like, I mean, there are hard moments, and like this week I'm actually having a really good week. Last week, not so much.
Yeah,
definitely had moments where I was like,
for me.
Oh, this week not so much. Last week was better.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the piece I wanted to say earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, stick around people who get it.
Yeah.
You know, the piece about planting seeds, like, you know, not everyone's gonna get it. And so people will convince you or that you need to quit or stop, or maybe just go back to work or just get a job. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, maybe we should go back to the bank. And I'm like, if I go back to the bank, it's because I got pregnant with triplets. And, but even then, I'm going to figure out a
way. Right. Swinging them 3 babies whichever way you can across the country, okay?
And if I do go back to the bank, it's going to be because I really want to. So, like, if I do this because I really want to for whatever reason. So, anyway, it's not shaming, like, corporate work at all. It's just, you know, you do what you got to do. You find ways to express yourself, whether that means you quit your job and express yourself, or, you know, it's absolutely possible you can build your side hustle that becomes your main hustle alongside your work. That is a big part of the work that I do with my clients. And actually, my next program coming up that's starting in a couple weeks is called Radiance. And a lot of, actually, some of the people are in there for relationship stuff, but a good bunch of the people that have signed up already are in their jobs and wanting to build up their side hustle. Their main hustle alongside of their jobs while they still got, you know, stable income coming in, which honestly I think is really smart. Like, I just quit and I just left and I just jumped off the cliff, which is like, I openly say I don't recommend that.
Right. It really isn't for everybody. And that's why I said that earlier about, you know, not to shame anybody who's doing both, because any financial advisor is probably going to tell you you should wait until your side hustle can pay for your full-time work. But it just didn't happen that way for us in particular. We dove it.
And it happened, like, that's why to, like, honor your journey, right? And just stick with people who get it and just keep going. Like, don't stop. Just don't.
Keep yourself encouraged. Absolutely. And it sounds so cheesy and so, like, you probably hear this all the time, but seriously, like, when you have the right people in your circle, like, it makes all the difference, because just a few, like, before I met Amelia, I feel like I was just like, I went to Howard, and Howard is like this place of, like, it's called the Black Mecca. Like, everybody is expected to be something while you're on campus and as soon as you get off campus. So I feel like that was weighing on my back as well. It's like, I need to stay this corporate track to be this person, and it really wasn't in line with who I was and what I felt like I was called to do. So it just goes back into all the little things that we were talking about along the way, and just how important it is to keep your circle, you know, keep your circle tight knit, and in a way, and people who are encouraging you to do the things that you were called to do. So,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love you so much. Let's raise a glass and just cheers. Amazing, amazing episode.
Yes, honey.
And we got our girls, all our girls came here, our girls and our boys. Thank you so much for joining. We hope that this was uplifting and inspiring and motivating for you.
Yeah.
I'm here every week, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific for Wind Down Wednesday. And of course, you can always catch the replay. And let me just also drop Candace's link one more again. Here's Candace's Instagram and her website so you can check out. I'm gonna need to pull her out again.
Look at my girl. She's so good. She's so cute. I love her.
I think I haven't like picked a spot for her yet because I've been just like meditating with her, but I think I'm gonna just have her right here because it's just like right by my desk. It's just anyway. So if you want to get an awesome print like this, there are different faces and flowers available, and you can also get them on the embroidered shirts. You can get the socks.
Yep.
And then you could get the bunny ears and the ears. And then this that Candace is wearing is a little preview for the next line coming up. So, you know, you just gotta keep it real cute. You just gotta keep it cute.
Thank you so much for advocating for me always. I love you. And thank you for having me tonight. It was awesome.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye, y'all.